Hello everyone, this is my Gemling Fireball build. In this build we are using Adonias and Divinity as the core pieces to make the build work. I already talked about how Adonias works in the past. Essentially it gives you more spell damage the more power charges you consume. How the amulet works is that essentially gives you mind over matter for free, and it turns your energy shield into a resource that generates fairly quickly, meaning you don't have to tap into your mana to cast spells anymore. Ideally, you don't want to use any corrupted items when you wear this item, as it reduces your divinity. Essentially, the more divinity you have, the better your regeneration would be, because it generates 25% of the max amount per second. The downside of this amulet is that you're at the mercy of waiting for divinity to regenerate, especially when you cast too many spells too fast. You also lose +4 to all spells, you lose max mana, you lose over 40 spirit, and you lose the cast on ailment skill if you were to use the absent amulet. For the anoint on my amulet, I'm using Paragon, which gives quality to our gems. Since we are playing the Gemling, we gain bonus effects. So the more quality you can obtain, the stronger some of the gem interactions become. We're not using Dominion, even though that is a good anoint, but I believe that Paragon is stronger on a Gemling. For our helmet, we want as much energy shield as possible with resistances and intellect. For our sockets, we're using the Idol of Ishta, which gives you cost efficiency, and we're using the Raven Touch Shard with Augmented Flesh. So Augmented Flesh gives you 2 additional skill slots. Since I'm not using unset rings and I need more space for my spells, this is the best alternative I could use. For our offhand, we're using Sacred Flame. This gives you gain as extra fire damage. It gives you fire resistance with Purity of Fire. It also gives you enemies in your presence get reduced lowest resistance. And it also gives you Spirit. And it allows you to socket Spirit spells without actually taking up your entire Spirit pool. For the runes, we're using Rune of Equinox. This gives you ward regeneration at the cost of your mana. And we're using the Rabbit's Idol, which increases the spirits for your scepter. For Adonias, we're using +1 to all spells, gain as extra damage to all elements, and additional projectile chance. For a ring, we have Calandra's Touch, and we have a ring that gives you intellect, max mana, cold resist, mana cost efficiency, and cast speed. For our chest piece, we are using body that gives you resistances, intellect, and spirit, and as much energy shield as possible. We are also using the Fox Idol, and the Fox Idol also gives you another 5% quality to all skills. And we have the Greater Iron, which gives you more energy shield. For our gloves, we're using Malagaros. This gives you more crit damage and some crit chance. For our socket, we're using increased magnitude of ailments. Belt, we're using Headhunter. And our boots, we just have move speed and resistances. We're using the Uthred's Chalice. This gives you mana and it can overflow. We have Dousing Charm. We have a Stone Charm and a Thawing Charm, which immunity to freeze, and Orloff's Resolve. This gives you guard based on your ward. Although we're not really using ward as our main defense anymore, we're using our mana. Because of our Gemling Ascendancy, we have gems studded. We want to have all our gems at an equal value. So that's why some of our support gems that we have is random, only so that we can get an equal amount. So that's why I have 20 on everything, so that we can get gem studded and get all the bonuses for gem studded. So the main important ones you want to get is heightened charges and prolonged duration. The rest doesn't really matter. I guess efficiency is also nice. For Purity of Fire, You just want any support gems that's a benefit. So we have Warm-Blooded, Herbalism, Cool-Headed, and Vitality. Precision 1 is just, like again, it's just to satisfy gem-studded. For Elemental Invocation, we have Fireball, Science Temper, Rakiata's Flow, Pinpoint Critical, and Efficiency 2. If you don't have Rakiata's, you can just use Fire Penetration 2, and it does the same thing, except Rakiata's just does more damage because it inverts the resistances. But Fire Penetration 2 is just like the cheaper alternative. For Frostwall, we have Glacier, Pinpoint Critical, Execute 2, Cooldown Recovery 2, and Pin 2. Pin 2 just gives more crit chance against frozen enemies, but again, it's also to satisfy gem-studded. Archmage, you have Armor Demolisher, Lightning Mastery. Fireball, we have Wild Shards 2, Fire Pen 2, Zenith 2, Pinpoint Critical, and Burgless. For Firestorm, the main important ones you want to get is Overabundance and Spell Cascade. The other support gems don't really matter, it's just to satisfy gem-studded. For Frostbomb, you want to have Short Fuse 2, Spell Echo, Spell Cascade, Cooldown Recovery, and Harmonic Remnants 2. Siphon Elements, you want Harmonic Remnants 2, Remnant Potency 1, Katal's Rejuvenation, and an Armor Demolisher, again just for gem-studded. Elemental Complex, we have Prolonged Duration, Armor Demolisher 2, Compressed Duration. Banner Remnants, we have Harmonic Remnants 2, Remnant Potency 3, Armor Demolisher. Explosive Transmutation, we have Arbiter's Ignition, Bounty 2, Pinpoint Critical, Zenith 2, and Spell Cascade. And for Mana Tempest, we have Efficiency 2, Mobility, Cooldown, and the rest just doesn't really matter. Again, it's just for gem-studded. For the gems, you want to keep all your gems evenly. So for me, I just have all 20 across the board so that we can obtain bonuses from our Gemling passive. For Pinnacle of Power, you definitely want Heightened Charges and Prolonged Duration. Heightened Charges has a chance for the timer to be doubled as well as its effect. So we have 18% more elemental damage and we consume 8 power charges currently. And it has a chance for that to be doubled. So 16 times 18. That's 288% more spell damage whenever Heightened Charges procs. So because we're stacking quality with Paragon and with the Fox Idol, as well as our Gemling passive, if we hold Alt, we can see the bonus effects on some of these skills. So we're using Frostwall because it gives you increased crystal life. The more life that you have, the more damage you'll actually obtain with the use of Burgless. So we have 331% or 331,000 extra life. So Burgless gives you 1% gain as extra cold per 2,000 max life. So 331,000 divided by 2,000 gives you 165% gained as extra cold for our fireball. So our fireball is able to freeze enemies, and because we're able to freeze enemies, we're able to generate energy even faster for our elemental invocation. So that is one of the interactions here, as well as Archmage also boosting up the damage, which also gives you gain as extra lightning. And we have Elemental Complex, which also gives you more damage based on your element as well. And Elemental Archon also gives you more elemental damage, as well as increasing your ailment magnitudes as well. So because we're not using Dominion, this does have a cooldown, but I believe that the Paragon quality is stronger than Dominion for the Gemling specifically. Mana Tempest has an interesting interaction with Divinity, is that it doesn't drain your mana. So it costs 1% mana per second, But because Divinity regenerates at a rate of 25% per second, it just doesn't drain your mana. So we can just press Mana Tempest, and we have an additional gain as lightning damage, and we can just keep casting Fireball, and our Divinity won't really regenerate. Oh, it won't run out, essentially. So we can just keep casting this. Now, like I said before, the downside of Divinity is that it only regenerates at a rate of 25% per second. But if you're at the point where you're casting so many fireballs that your Divinity is not able to keep up, that is where the downside comes in. So Elemental Invocation, why this is so good, is that it holds charges. So I believe it can hold up to 5 or so with Fireball. And because it generates so much energy, your Divinity is not able to keep up, but sometimes it's able to proc the extra 5 charges as well. So you're able to cast more fireballs with Elemental Invocation than cast on Elemental Ailments. They're both very similar skills, but Elemental Invocation it generates energy faster, essentially. Like, it just casts more. So one thing I forgot to mention is that Elemental Invocation also only has a reservation of 60 spirit, versus Cast on Elemental Ailment has a requirement of 100 spirit. So you're getting a discount on the spirit requirements, and it's able to cast more frequently than Cast on Elemental Ailment. Also, the bonus effect on the Gemling is that socketed spells deal an increased damage when triggered as well. So there's that to consider. Let's go over the passives. So for Gemling, we are using Gem Studded. So this gives you bonuses based on your total amount of gem colors. So that's how we have 20 in each. So we get all 3 bonuses. Advanced Thaumaturgy, this gives you increased quality effect. So as I was saying before, we're stacking quality if we can. So this gives you 18% chance for additional projectiles. Frostbound has a limit of 5 now. We have Siphon Elements, increase further away. Longer duration, more mana regen. So you have different effects of quality. So that's why we're able to stack quality on our Gemling. And we have +2 to all spells as well. For our passives, in the middle we are using From Nothing Eldritch Battery. Over here we have Split Personality. This lets us start on the sorcerer's side. Over here we have +3 to all fireball spells. Time loss of crit chance and magnitude of ailments. We have Megalomaniac with Harmonic Generator and Unbending. Gives us stun threshold and more crit chance and shock magnitude. And we have Heart of the Well with gain as extra cold, lightning, and crit chance for spells. So Arcane Remnants is still being used, even though we're using Divinity as our resource to cast. But because we are essentially mind over matter without having to spend points into here, we have mind over matter here because 100% of damage taken from mana before life. We're able to pick up remnants to generate our mana, so we're able to gain our life pool back essentially. And we have skill effect duration. This helps with your Pinnacle of Power duration. So the more skill effect you can have, the longer the timer is, and you don't have to keep refreshing it as often. We have Elemental Equilibrium here, just so that we can turn our Frost Bombs to give us fire infusions. So that is why we have that. And we just have points here so we can satisfy the time lost sapphire. And we have ice walls as well, because the more your ice walls have life, the more damage your burglars will do. And so our fireball crit chance currently is only at 46%, which is fairly low. So that's why the damage is very spiky. Sometimes you'll crit, sometimes you don't. And the times that you do, you know, you could see it, but the times that you don't crit, it feels like your damage is lacking. So probably the other ascendancy that would work best for this build is the Blood Mage, because it makes your base crit chance of 15% for spells, and that would make Fireball crit capped, because currently Fireball is only a 7% crit chance base, and it's very low. So that's why it's not able to do as much damage as other ascendancies, but I was able to make Fireball work on the Gemling. You want to be sure that you have Infusion of Power on weapon set 2, as well as Lust of Power, Power Within, and Overflowing Power. So you see these green nodes right here? You just want them to be allocated specifically on weapon set 2. You also want to have Firestorm be the only spell on weapon set 2. Everything else you want on weapon set 1. Okay, so how does the build play is you drop Frost Bomb and you generate fire infusions. You press Firestorm and you collect power charges. You swap back to weapon set 1 and then you press Pinnacle of Power. And now you have Pinnacle of Power. You can press Mana Tempest and you'll gain some extra damage. You could also press Frostfall and you could also gain some more damage as well that way. And then you have Arbiter's Ignition, so you gain also more damage and more magnitude of ailments that way as well. Okay, and that is all I have for you guys right now. I am still going to be experimenting with some iterations of the build. I believe the Absent Amulet is still going to be better than the Divinity Amulet. And just having a scepter with more spirit is just very beneficial, as you can have more cast on effects. And I'm still experimenting, but that is what I have right now. Just wanted to showcase that. Yes, Spark and Comet will be probably the best skills ever, unless they decide to nerf them. But they've been the same skills since 0.1. Hopefully they can buff fire spells and Fireball in general, and just make it so that it's more usable. I don't know, Spark is just too overpowered. But that is all I got for you guys right now. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.